Good evening, everyone. I
Good
welcome you
evening,
all.
everyone.
Good evening.
I welcome you all to the
Hello.
second session in the series of Let Us Incur. Today, we are going to explore a very interesting topic, disease, and perhaps everybody of everybody of us actually are interested in exploring disease, what it is, what is the root cause of disease. So, we have Dr. Rashi Tiwari with us today, who will be facilitating us to this exploration of the root cause of disease. Welcome, Rashi. I hand over the stage to you. Please proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, Kalyan. Thanks for the introduction. And good evening, all of you. Welcome to this inquiry session on root cause of disease. So, of course, I have a PowerPoint to present. So during the PowerPoint presentation, I will have some pauses where we can actually together reflect. So all your questions can be, kept for that point. And there are several points during the presentation where we'll be taking a pause and reflecting. And I think this is an inquiry together. So I'm just, I'm just a medium to actually do that. So yeah, I'll start sharing my screen. Are you able to view my screen?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
You just need to go for the slideshow. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, yeah. So today's topic is root causes of disease. So as we can see in this picture, there are several causes that can lead to whatever we have defined as disease, like diabetes, cancer, and there are a lot of things that you can, I don't want to read all of them, but hormonal imbalances, toxic chemical exposure, toxic emotions, so on and so forth. Okay, so we are in this session, because it's a rationality program session, we are going to bring in the aspect of rationality and understand how it is contributing to diseases. Okay, so to begin with, let's understand human body, which is natural, it's its nature. So it's a sustainable, sophisticated, natural machine designed in nature. And we are inherently, so the human body is inherently designed to maintain homeostasis within. So if there is something that is going on wrong with our body, like, there is an excess of something, or we are deficient of something, or something is, like if you get a cut or a burn, your body will try to maintain the homeostasis by initiating some response. So before going into diseases, let's understand what are the domains of our existence, right? So we can categorize into three domains. Physical domain, basically the physical domain is something that is that's a medium where we are connected to the outside world, right? Like to the whole. And our physical sensory organs are actually the medium which help us connect with the external world. So that is the physical domain. We'll call it as P1, just for the sake of simplicity. The second, okay. Yeah, so the second domain is the physiological domain, which we cannot really see. It is something that is happening within. Like, for example, when you eat food, the food is digested. We cannot really see it, but there is some sensation within, or there is some emotions, like, for example, if someone hurts you, you start crying, so these things are physiological reactions that is natural for any human body. Now, what's the third? The third one is a psychological domain, which basically forms our mind, so-called mind, and this is derived by the inputs from physical as well as physiological sensations, and that is when we actually form some perception of something that is happening. So the thoughts and the perception are things that are forming the psychological domain, which we will henceforth call as P3 domain. Okay, so let us understand what is disease in terms of these three domains. Okay, so coming to physical, the P1 domain, how do we feel when we have disease? Disease is basically you're not at ease, right? So there is some discomfort in one or more body parts. So that is happening at the P1 level when you are suffering from a disease, and you are unable to follow daily routine. Like, if you are going to office or school, colleges, you're not able to do it because you're at discomfort and you cannot manage to do your normal course. So having said that, disease is something that is not to be considered as bad, because as we will understand, it's something that is very important to maintain the homeostasis or inner balance. Okay, so at physiological level, what happens is there is accumulation of toxic elements, and that's when the disease is initiated by the body so that it can eliminate those toxins, or there can be excess of a specific element or lack of a specific element, as we call it as deficiencies. Okay, so all of this can be categorized into the physiological domain. Now, what happens at the psychological domain is, so either this can happen when you are diseased at any stage, right? Like when we say we are mentally sick, you are not in peace within, you are not in sync with nature. Probably we are having strong emotions, fear, regret, obsession, attachment, all of these expectations, all of these strong emotions, that is actually, causing that disease at your P3 level. Okay, so having said that, we all know that body is self-healing machine. So what happens if something is wrong? As I said, it has all the healing power. So if you get a bruise, or if you have fever, or if you break a bone, the body knows how to heal. So we don't need to go somewhere special and start healing. The body knows how to heal. Okay, so this is something that is very natural, and we observe it all the time. Now, when does body initiate disease? So this is very, very important to understand when and how. Okay, so whenever there is something excess or something that is not normal in homeostasis, the body starts or initiates this disease so that the homeostasis or the balance within the body is maintained. Okay, for example, there is something excess, whether it's a toxin or anything unwanted, or if there is a cut or a burn, the body has to heal. That's when the body initiates a disease. But it can initiate disease only under favorable conditions. And initiating disease is a very needful thing of body, because if it doesn't have the favorable condition, the disease will remain as it is inside, and it will go into several different types of complications within the body. Okay, so at this stage, I would like to pause here, and I would want you all to reflect if there is anything coming up in your mind, and would you like to ask or inquire together. I think we can do that now before I move ahead to the second portion of my talk.
Hello, Rashi.
Yes, yes.
In the second table, you mentioned that the emotion and sensation, they are the physiological expressions.
One second. Here.
Second slide was there.
Yeah, yes, this one, right?
There is an
Yeah.
in P2 level.
Yeah.
First, you mentioned P1 as action, mechanical, and in physiological, P2 is emotion and sensation, whereas
Yes.
psychological has thoughts and perception. Whereas in the subsequent slide, you have mentioned that the emotions like fear. Next, please. Here. Here you have mentioned that emotions in the P3 thing, psychological, that strong emotions. Can you please clarify all this emotion, sensation?
Yeah, so basically, these emotions are not natural for your body to sense. These are P3 driven emotions. So when I say physiological emotions, that are the sensations that are natural in our body. For example, thirst or hunger. You feel that you are not creating in your head. It happens naturally. And here, these are the strong emotions that are that have come out of our conditioning, and this our five sensory organs cannot really sense these emotions, and that is why they are into the P3 domain, because it is coming from our perception of our conditioning and beliefs that we have been brought up with. I hope it answers your question.
Yes, I was a little confused because emotion is mentioned there also. But what you are explaining is are the normal emotions. These are the abnormal, I mean, not normal
Conditioned emotions.
Conditioned
emotions. Emotions that cannot be sensed by your, like body, basically. It's just imaginary, it's irrational in your head.
So the other emotions are physiological. Sensations
for
are
example,
physiological.
Yeah, sensation and emotions in some way. For example, if you get a cut and if you're crying, so that's kind of an emotion. Maybe we can call it something else, but I mean, what I meant was something that we are not imagining, but it is happening within. Yeah.
Thank you.
So could we say that these emotions are coming from the way we have looked at something and we have made we have some ideas about something, and then they are also making an impact to the body, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So these emotions which have built up maybe because of certain circumstances, and we have some ideas, some memories about it. These emotions have come in, and they're also going to from psychological domain. They are moving. They are having an impact in the physiological domain.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, you're right. You're right.
Okay. Thanks.
Rashi, one thing, this when we are saying disease, there is toxins in the body, and in the physical level, some discomforts are there, and physiological level, the toxins are there in the body, in the bloodstream. And how do these toxins affect these psychological? Do these toxins cause these strong emotions, or like fear, comparison, regret? Do they directly cause it, or what?
I think you have to wait for the talk to end, and I think by then, I mean, this is the essence of the talk today. So we will be inquiring it, and as we go deeper into it, maybe you will get the answer. Anyone else has any reflection?
No. Can you go to the slide that we were on?
Yes.
Yeah. So here in the P2 column, you are mentioning accumulation of toxic element and then lack or excess of specific elements. So are you proposing that these are two different things or the same things enumerated separately?
I mean, this we can't tell because we cannot really see the physiological domain. The second aspect I have gotten because we are doing a lot of diagnosis, right? And the reports that we are doing blood test and checking some specific element missing or having deficiency of a particular, whatever. So that was the reason the second thing has come up. Otherwise,
Is it connected to the accumulation of toxin or
yes,
it's a separate thing?
it could be because they are all connected, I guess. And I think because since we cannot really know what is going within, it could be or it could not be connected. But since it's like a sophisticated machine, all of things are regulated in a well coordinated manner. I'm guessing at some level they will be connected.
Okay.
Okay, so shall we move further if there are no more reflections?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, we ended by saying that under favorable conditions, the body can initiate disease. Now let us understand what is this favorable condition. Okay, so the body requires sufficient vital energy. So we all have a limited amount of energy, which is required by the body to do everything that we do. All the P1, P2, P3, all these domains are basically running by the energy of this vital energy that we have within. And to initiate any disease, a body should have sufficient amount of energy. So, for example, let's take it as value of vital energy. So VE is vital energy, should be more than or equal to 100. Only then the body can think that, okay, it's favorable enough and it is good enough to initiate a disease. Because otherwise it's not easy for the body to have this vital energy functioning and also doing repair at the same time. Okay, so we need sufficient energy. Now, so what happens when this sufficient energy is there within the body? So if it is, for example, more than 100, if the vital energy is more than 100, you will have enervation or drainage of that vital energy, which will lead to toxin accumulation inside. And if the body is unable to if the body, if the vital energy is less than 100, where the body has no energy to initiate a disease, these toxin accumulation can actually go to a second stage where it is irritation, inflammation, so these complications will start increasing as we go ahead, until the body gets the sufficient energy and it starts reversing the condition, whatever we have. So in this case, if the vital energy is sufficient enough, even if people are suffering from cancer, which is the last stage of the disease, it is possible with the vital energy to start reversing this process and coming back to homeostasis. Okay, so now let's understand where can we get this vital energy from? I mean, it is all within us, but how can we conserve this energy so that the body is enabled and we facilitate the body to start the disease so that it is maintaining the homeostasis? Okay, so we will understand this conservation of vital energy in all the three domains, P1, P2, and P3. P1 is physical, P2 is physiological, and P3 is psychological. Okay, so how do we conserve at P1 level? Okay, so conservation happens if an individual lives according to laws of nature and exhibit universal love, considering yourself part of the entirety or the whole and not separate. The energy is conserved when you are actually responding to your sensory organs, or when your physical actions are curiosity driven. Okay, so for example, the laws of nature, if we give examples, like we have sunlight, the natural light, water, food. So all of these, posture, your movement, your sleep, these are all natural. And if you are actually following everything, what is natural, you end up conserving your vital energy. And this can actually lead to more vital energy or sufficient vital energy to start initiation of disease. So let us take an example of food. Now, when you see this picture, what do you feel like doing? Like, if you are hungry, naturally your sensory organs will drive you towards this, because um, naturally you know that this is your food, and this is the natural instinct, and this is the natural fuel that is designed um, for your body. Now, what happens and how the vital energy is drained at P1 level? So how is the draining happening? If you are living ideated life, okay, so ideated living in the sense, you are not really following the laws of nature, but you are living because of some conditioning, some ideas that, okay, we have to do this, we need to eat this, or, take certain type of I don't know, elements that are good for your health, like for example, protein and all that. So this is type of ideated living, or eating things that your body cannot recognize as food. Okay, so this can actually drain your energy, and we will understand how by giving an example in future slides. Or you consider yourself as separate and not part of the whole. Or when we are starting to ignore your natural sensory signals, like if the body is asking for food, you are not really eating, or when it is asking for rest, you are not resting, because you are living in system created life, because these created systems are designed for us to be, living a livelihood and earning and all that, but not necessarily natural. And this can actually end up in draining your energy, where your vitality energy will be less than the optimal, and thereby you will not be able to initiate disease. So this is the energy drainage at P1 level. Let us understand with another example. Now, if you see this, what is your natural instinct? Do you salivate? Like especially people who consume animals, uh, are you able to salivate the way you actually did when you saw, all the fruits? So naturally one is designed to eat what nature has designed for you, and that is the right fuel. That's how you conserve energy. But because of ideated living and conditioning, because people have been maybe killing animals for the food, um, we are living the life which is not natural, and that can actually drain energy. Similarly, all the packaged food that is made in a plant or in an industry, which has nothing to do with natural products, they are highly processed, they are converted from one form to another, and the sensory organs cannot really sense that it is a food, right? So all of these can actually end up in draining your energy. So how does the draining happens? Okay, so what happens is when you are consuming food, your vital energy is engaged in the metabolism. whether it's a catabolism or anabolism, entirely, it is called metabolism, and your body is engaged in that, and that actually engages your vital energy. Now, when you consume natural food that are already pre-digested in nature, you don't really require so much energy, you end up conserving energy. So the vital energy is conserved if you are following laws of nature by eating the food uh, designed for you. Whereas the vital energy is drained when there is some dish prepared out of mixing of a lot of ingredients, which doesn't even look like the ones that are produced in nature. And the body has to, so when you consume the food, the body has to first disintegrate the food into its individual components that are identified as natural. So if you're mixing a lot of spices in a curry, for example, all those spices has to be disintegrated and digested into smaller elements, and that's when the body will absorb. So this process, when you are eating something that is ideated and not natural, the vital energy engagement is higher, and that is when your energy will be drained. Whereas when you eat fruits, it's a single component and it's identified as food in nature, the body will not require so much energy, and you end up conserving energy here. Okay, so another pause for reflections, if any. I hope
Rashi,
the
can
pace
you?
is good. Yeah. Yes, Shilpi.
Yeah, can you? Yes, it's good. Can you please
Okay.
elaborate on how our sensory organs recognize what is food for us?
Yeah. So as we saw, when you see the sight, so your five sensory organs, when I say, it's like eyes, nose, ears, your tongue, and the touch. So when you see fruits, the sight of the fruit will be attractive, right? The feel of the fruit will also be nice. You will feel like, having the fruit. Um, and the smell will be like, you will be attracted by the smell. The smell will drive you towards the food. So naturally, every living being, including human beings, are designed to recognize their food with the help of your five sensory organs. And you will relish, your tongue will enjoy the taste of the food. So these are the five sensory organs which will uh, very easily tell you without any prior conditioning that this is your food. For example, imagine that you have never seen a roti in your life. And if you see a roti lying down, maybe your sensory organs will never recognize it as food because there is no smell, there is nothing that you can actually get attracted. But now that we are conditioned, we know how a roti tastes. We are actually, thinking that this is your food. But imagine that we are completely blank. We have no idea of our food, but you are still capable of identifying your food in nature with your five sensory organs.
But through a lot of research these days, the scientists are able to create some aroma which will end up attracting you. So it's not always true that an artificial aroma will not end up attracting you. So what is your proposal in that case?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
yes. So basically, that is not coming from your physical sensory organs, sensory signals. It is basically coming from your psychological domain, because you are making to like that taste, and there is an intention behind. So the people who are making,
No,
for example, perfumes.
I'm picking up your example where you propose
Uh-huh.
that suppose somebody has not seen roti in life and first
Yes.
time looking at roti. So roti is a very simple thing that you have picked up.
Yeah.
A child who is never exposed to commercial chips, potato chips. The first time,
Yes.
if you give the child to eat it, it will like the smell, it will like the taste, and she will consume it. So,
Yeah.
what would you propose in that case?
Yeah, so basically this is how we are conditioned. So this is the conditioning, and this is the ideated lifestyle that we have adopted because of industry business, that people want to sell things, so they are imitating as imitating that it will be addictive. There are some addictive components also added to it, and you are of course attracted by the sight because it's looking very very different. So
Maybe the
then,
child is seeing that other people are eating, consuming
yes,
around, and that
that
gives
is
the child
also,
confidence. Ki, okay,
yes,
all these other people are eating these things, so these must be eatable. Otherwise, if child
absolutely,
is left alone, maybe
maybe, yes,
instinctively it may not like it.
Uh,
yeah, true,
yeah, let me bring another aspect which we might be missing here: exploring the source of the food. Exploring the source of the food is very much
yes,
important, which a child
yeah,
might not be able to do it. Child will be
yes,
sold to that, but a neurally grown up person must explore inquire the source of the food. So it is not just the taste that we succumb to, but also we must inquire that where it is coming from. That might lead to a
yes,
lot of awareness and the fakeness of the taste or the aroma itself. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I think there
yeah,
are Lingan,
absolutely,
you
Kalyanji,
wanted to
suppose
ask.
something,
Yes, ma'am.
Kalyan, suppose, are you proposing that if anything has come in front of us, we should take some time to inquire into it? Some eatable, whether
We
it's
are
an
structured to do
ideated
that,
one.
ma'am. We are structured to do that. We are neurally structured to do that. Unless we are blocked by our pleasure, goal of pleasure. So two things, like pleasure is very important thing. Pleasure is the driver of life. But if the pleasure becomes the goal, then if we actually stop inquiring the source. Otherwise, it's very natural to inquire the source and explore it, and then the validity comes in. you know
But the pleasure is very short-lived. In the ideated pleasure, it is short-lived. Whereas if it's a natural pleasure, it is
Yeah,
like
ideated
persistent.
pleasure actually never satiates us. And that's the
Hmm.
reason the addiction comes, and we keep on looking for it, harping for it. Whereas the natural pleasure is easily satiated. When you eat mangoes, you are satiated, you are not obsessively eating it. But if you are eating pizza or any processed food or salt mixed artificial taste, then you are, even if you are full, then also as if you are not satiated. So this is another thing. I think there were a question from Indu. Yeah, yeah, she has unmuted. Yes, ma'am, please.
Yeah, I want to ask, like sometimes few when we see some food and our like tongue, our how mouth secretes some saliva, right? And then you feel like eating it, but
yes,
then you in the mind you know that it's not the natural food. But sometimes for the unnatural food, when body secretes saliva, what does that mean? That means this is a natural.
no, so that means we are not really driven by our physical input, but it is coming from a psychological domain, and it is causing sensation within, because naturally your physical body knows that this is not the food, but because you have tasted it, it's an ideated taste that you have conditioned or you have developed, then you start salivating. So it is coming from your P3 domain and entering into your P2 domain. But the natural should be coming from P1 and then entering P2. That way you are not draining your energy if you are following the natural course. So we will come to that. There is a slide specially mentioning these things, and maybe it will be more clear later on. But I hope I answered what you were looking for, Indu.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
Yes,
seems
thank
we
you.
have around a minute time to go for this particular slot. So we'll take a 2 minutes break and we'll rejoin using the same link for the further portion of the session. That will be part 2 of this. Right. So
Yeah.
I request all of you to rejoin in 2 minutes using the same link. Thank you.